Hi, I'm Tom Collins, Executive Director of the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission, Arizona's nonpartisan voter education agency. And we're here today to talk about the upcoming legislative session and inauguration of new state officers. And joining us to talk about this is Mary Jo Pitzl from the Arizona Republic. Mary Jo is one of the most talented reporters in Arizona. She has covered the legislature and state politics, and she currently covers those for the Republic and covered the last campaign. She is also well known for her award-winning coverage of child welfare issues for the Republic, where she's worked since 1980. So it's a real treat to have the opportunity to bring to our online viewers Mary Jo Pitzl to help us break down a little bit about what to expect here in the beginning of this new session and new governor's term. So thanks, Mary Jo, for joining us.
Thanks so much, Tom. And yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a busy year.
Right. I mean, so this is kind of a big change, right? We will have had not only a new governor after 2 terms of Governor Ducey, but a party change at the governor and Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office. So, what sort of what will we see happen first? I mean, will the governor will be inaugurated? What does that kind of look like?
Well, that's interesting. Well, I'm not sure what we will see, but January 2nd, the first non-holiday year or day of the year, is the inauguration of Governor-elect Hobbs, Adrian Fontes as Secretary of State, Chris Mays, presumably as Attorney General. Not quite sure what happens if some legal issues continue, but I think she will get sworn in if she wins the recount. The school superintendent, Tom Horn, and treasurer, Kimberly Yee. It's going to be a private ceremony, unlike what my experience has been for many, many years, is that usually there's a big ceremony that's out in the Capitol courtyard. They tear out the rose bushes, they put down plywood, they bring in risers, and the new officers come out on the second floor balcony of the original Capitol. It's quite a grand scene. This year, there's a lot of security concerns. Anybody, who's been watching the elections knows it's been a pretty bumpy season, a lot of threats, a lot of very unhappy people witnessed by a lot of litigation that we've seen in the wake of the election. So instead of this big grand public ceremony, there's going to be a more smaller, sedate swearing in ceremony. And later in the week, there will be something more ceremonial. We're still waiting for details on that as we record this in mid-December. So hopefully by the time people are seeing this, they'll know more so that maybe they can participate. But that is scheduled for January 5th.
So after January 5th, then I think the next big date will be January 9th. So that's because that's when the new legislature comes in. And I understand there's something like 50% of the legislature or something is new.
Yes, there was an incredible turnover due to retirements, people losing their primaries, a couple people losing their general elections. The Senate's new, the House is going to have a whole lot of new members, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because a lot of these freshmen come in, full of fire and conviction that they know their way around everything. There's another group that tends to sit back and listen and try to absorb things. So we shall see. And I will tell you that perhaps even before the January 9th inauguration of the new legislature, we might see some legislative action. There is this lingering issue of the school spending limit that has not been resolved. Lawmakers in June, Ducey signed the bill, gave $1 billion plus more to K-12 schools. It goes strictly to the district public schools. But they realized that they needed to raise this constitutional spending cap so the schools could spend it. Ducey promised he would call a special session to make that happen. That has not yet happened. If it doesn't, there's some chatter that perhaps they could try to squeeze this in that 1 week between when Hobbs is inaugurated as governor and the current legislature is finishing out its last week. That's sort of a long shot, but there will probably be some drama even before January 9th.
So I want to put this in a little bit of perspective. I mean, so you've and part of the reason we've asked you to share your expertise in this area it seems to me that we've had a number of different transitions in the state. We've had governors resign, we've had governors impeached, uh, uh, we've had governors get appointed to bigger offices and leave. But for all those kind of transitions, this, certain sense, the magnitude of both policy issues, change in the legislature, and change in the executive this is pretty significant historically, don't you think?
Right. Yes, it is. I mean, it's in more recent history. We haven't had this kind of changeover where the executive office is switches parties. So we're going to have a Democratic governor. The legislature has remained Republican controlled, but by, as it's been for the last 4 years, the slimmest of margins, but with different personalities and different ideologies, in that the dominant GOP majority. So the fact that you're going to have a governor of a different party than the legislature will probably make for a very different outcome at the state legislature. Because as you know, if you want your bills signed into law, the governor's got to approve of them. And I think a Democratic governor may look differently at Republican priorities than Governor Ducey did.
I think I'm right in saying that the records for a number of vetoes issued occurred when there was a Republican legislature and Democratic Governor Janet Napolitano earlier in the session.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to go back to my notes. Babbitt had a pretty good record there too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Last issue I want to touch on. So everybody comes back in. Maybe we've dealt with this education spending limit issue, maybe we haven't. But what are sort of the first tasks that a governor and legislature have, in the opening days of the session?
Sure. The governor will be presenting her budget by the end of the second week of January. That's a tall order. Katie Hobbs just learned, in mid-November that she won. So she has, she's got about 2 months to get her arms around state finances and the budget and make a proposal. And then she will make an address to the legislature as the Constitution requires, to sort of report to them. There'll be a lot of pomp and ceremony on January 9th and probably throughout that first week of January. And we will then get to work on all the bills, which are just starting now to be filed.
So it sounds like we'll have a very exciting first month of the year here as this. So lots of different activity going on at the legislature, a whole new set of both lawmakers and executive officers. It's a very exciting time. Thank you, Mary Jo, for joining us. And, if you want to read Mary Jo every day, you can subscribe to the Arizona Republic or AZ Central, or you can follow Mary Jo on Twitter at Mary J Pitzl. You can always log on to azcleanelections.gov to find out how to contact your elected officials, from the new governor to your local legislature. And we look forward to seeing you throughout the year online.
Great. Thanks so much. Yeah, and I do hope that your listeners do tune in to legislative coverage. What they do down there matters. It affects people's lives. And we're going to see a lot of interesting legislation from relating to elections, because everybody has big thoughts after what happened in 2022. I mean, we're still litigating 2020, to transportation issues, child safety, health issues. So lots to look forward to in 2023.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, I think that's right. I mean, I think that, we'll continue to work, to try to bring folks through the Clean Elections voter education program some of that information as we go along. So, really, Mary Jo, thanks so much for taking the time to talk, and look forward to seeing everybody at the Capitol.
Thank you.